Hello all and welcome. Today I'm going to um, read my diary of when I had my third ayahuasca journey. And so here we go. Shamanic medicine journey number 3. I arrived on the sacred land and I saw the facilitators were making space for the ceremony to take place outside. I'm usually freezing during ceremonies, so I laid down my stuff in the warmest spot possible. Excuse me. Alright, I'm back. So where was I? Okay, I lay my stuff down to the warmest spot possible, next to the fire pit where there was no shade, to make me colder than I already knew I would be. A healer began to talk near the fire pit while everyone was finished setting up their stuff. She was talking about letting go of attachments, letting go of religious dogma, and the thought of going to hell. Letting go of your status, quote unquote, in life and to get out of your own way. Stop trying to control it and allow the experience to just happen. She looked me directly in the eye and said, "Find a comfortable place to sit and let yourself go," in quotations. The smudging soon began and everybody was covered head to toe in sage smoke. Moments after that, all the participants took the first dose of medicine. I held the dose in my hand and I asked Aya to show me who she really was. "Please show me your face," I said. Inside my head, of course. I then drank the dose, and the taste was disgusting as ever. However, I didn't feel nauseous. This time I brought a backjack to help me sit up during ceremony. I remained sitting up and I shook my rattle to the drumming of the native chants being sung. I closed my eyes and I could start seeing the fog of what I call the veil. I thought I was going to start seeing visions, so I put on my blindfold. It's a blindfold which has a space so your eyelids can remain open in total darkness. It's called a mindfold. And I laid down. It's also known as a meditation mask. At first I saw some fractals which turned into crystallized stars. My attention then went to the sun, which at the time had peeked over the trees. The sun rays felt very cozy and warm, which was nice for a change, because like I said, usually I'm freezing during ceremony. I felt myself drifting off to sleep. In what I thought was a dream, I saw a huge flower. It was magenta color, with a bright orange glow. There was no background except the crystallized stars within the void. The flowers then slowly morphed into a hawk totem, like the bird. The totem grew in size. It got bigger and bigger. I felt myself needing to purge, so I took my mindfold off and grabbed my bucket to vomit. But nothing came out. I felt very nauseous, and I knew I needed to purge, but when I tried, nothing would happen. It felt like the purge was locked in my chest somehow. I hovered over my bucket, and I drank more water. Eventually, one of the healers kneeled down next to me. I told her I'm trying to purge, but nothing is happening. She then told me to remember the conversation earlier. And then she asked me, "What is your attachment?" I thought for a moment, and then I replied, "I don't know." And she immediately walked away. Now thinking back, the healer may have been seeing that somebody else needed immediate attention or something. I don't know, but during the ceremony, everything feels like it's revolving around me. So during the ceremony, I thought I said the wrong answer. Shortly after she passed, I purged. It was a very small amount of vomit, and nothing interesting was in the bucket afterward like previous journeys I've had. There was nothing black or crawling around. It just looked like average vomit. As usually, I felt so much better, and the nausea was fading. I laid back down and closed my eyes. Almost immediately after my eyes closed, I saw a dark swirl appear before me. It was black, like a shadow. The dark swirl turned into a figure which looked like an entity made of black ink, and it was laughing at me. I could not hear it, but I could see its silhouette, and it's laughing at me, as if it was dancing. My attention was then brought to its hand. It started to turn into the form of a gun. It danced the gun up to its head and nodded like it was telling me to do the same. I immediately opened my eyes. The sun was directly over my head. It was as if a giant spotlight was shining directly into my eyes. I envisioned myself in the emergency room, and what I thought was the sun had actually been a doctor shining a flashlight into my pupils, trying to wake me up out of a coma. I immediately knew that this vision was that of fear. I did not want to go down that path. I did not want to argue with myself what was real and what was not during the journey. That kind of thinking creates thought loops, which is one way that the ego tries to prevent the journey from happening. It tries to convince the participant that they are losing their mind. I've entertained these thoughts before, and the result has not been pleasant. My logical mind thought this because I was looking directly into the sun, and it did not hurt my eyes. It was as if the sun, my eyes would have surely squinted as usual. At this point, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming. I stared directly into the sun, and I could see its perfect roundness. It was a perfect circle. As I continued staring at the sun, I noticed an eyeball forming at its center. Eventually, the sun became one giant eyeball looking down on me. I told myself it was a hallucination, that the eyeball was not real. Soon my mind realized I was staring directly into the sun, and I'm probably burning holes into my retina. I closed my eyes and I saw the black ink was starting to form again. I was frightened from before, so I opened my eyes and was met once again by the glaring eyeball of the sun. So I closed my eyes again. Then this went on for a while, switching between realms. In this realm, there was a giant eyeball looking down on me. In the other realm, there's a black ink entity haunting me. Also, the imagination ego mind was playing a game with me that I may actually be in a coma and that none of this is real. My rational mind brought up the idea that I may be getting a severe sunburn because I've been out in the direct sun for hours. A little side note, I didn't get sunburnt. I got up and asked the volunteer if I can be moved to the shade. 2 volunteers helped me move to the shade, and I laid back down. I kept my eyes open and was staring at the big oak tree hovering over me. The leaves of the branches turned into animal faces. There were lions, apes, snails, bears, jaguars, and many other faces of these many different animals. I then saw a shadow of something fly by out of the corner of my eye. I wasn't sure what it was until it flew by again. I could see it was a hawk. It flew around the ceremony in a big circle. I want to say a red-tailed hawk, but I'm not sure. It flew around the ceremony in a big circle. It was showing us the eyes under its wings. It was like it was reminding us that Spirit is watching us, and we are all safe. It flew around the circle a few more times, and then it flew away. It seemed like it was hovering around the circle for hours, to be honest. I went back to looking into the faces in the trees, and more faces appeared, but this time they were more human-looking. Not quite Homo sapien, but beings with human facial appearances. Some were half feline and half human. Some were half ape, and when they were wearing helmets. Some were men and women wearing hats made from plants and animal skins. I could only see them from the neck up. As I was looking at the faces, I saw a shimmering wave reflect from the tree branches. When I focused my gaze upon the shimmering wave, I realized that they were actually spider webs. I looked around and saw that there were hundreds of spider webs hanging from the trees, and that they had covered the ceremony circle and all of its participants. At first I got a little anxious because of my arachnophobia, but I realized there were no spiders. How can there be spider webs but no spiders, I thought. Just then a flock of white butterflies flew by, and I thought they were going to get caught in the spider webs, but they didn't. They flew around the circle for a bit, and then they fluttered away into the forest. I then saw something dangling over my head. I thought it may be a spider slowly crawling its way towards me. I was about to get up and move when I noticed that it was green and it had no legs. I focused on it and realized it was a silkworm hanging from a thread of silk that was swinging gently with the breeze. I noticed there were more. They were covering the ceremony circle with silk. It felt like they were blessing the circle, and it was very pleasant. After realizing there was no spider infestation, I went back to staring at the tree branches. This time I saw a very pretty woman's face. I stared for a while, then a healer approached me. She asked if the trees were communicating with me. I nodded and I said I can see their faces. She patted my shoulder and then moved on. Moments later the sun found me again. I did not want to ask to be moved to the shade again, so I closed my eyes and I let the sun beat down on me. I then saw a shadow of something fly by me. I opened my eyes and saw a flock of butterflies fluttering around the circle again. They fluttered up into the trees that was on the other side of the circle. I felt the desire to go sit under the tree, so I asked a volunteer if I could. She helped me to walk to the tree, and I sat against its trunk. The tree trunk felt very warm and furry. I could feel its warm energy on my back, and it almost felt like I was melting into the tree. I looked at the thicket of bushes in front of me. I saw the pretty woman's face again. This time it was larger and much more detailed. She had a slight smile, and I could feel a loving energy. I'm not sure what this spirit was. It did not tell me, but I felt like it was a spirit of Mother Nature. The spirit of Aya, the spirit of the plants that the healers refer to. They refer to her as Pachamama. I was very grateful she showed her face to me. I had asked her before the ceremony to do so, and I admit I was not as overwhelming as I thought I would be, but maybe that was the best way I could handle seeing her face at that moment. I was still getting in my own way during the ceremony, and my own fear held me back. Maybe she was in the other realm waiting for me, but my own fear prevented me from meeting with her. Maybe she came to this realm to send me some love in a visual way that my mind could accept in this realm with my eyes open. Also, by the time the main effects of the medicine had worn off, people were already standing up and talking. I felt something crawling near me. I looked down and saw that it was a furry black caterpillar. I looked around and saw there were hundreds of them all over the ground. It was interesting because during one ceremony, I saw the silkworms hanging from above, the caterpillars crawling from below, the butterflies fluttering in between. It was like Spirit was teaching me about metamorphosis through the tree of life. The big oak trees were representing the symbol of the tree of life, of my Celtic Germanic ancestry. The caterpillars at the tree's roots, the silkworms in the leaves, and the butterflies fluttering between. It was like the message was for me to accept my metamorphosis and become like the butterfly that can flutter to the lower, middle, and upper realms. The hawk also showed up in my journey in this realm and the other realm at this. It was like a hawk totem. The hawk continued, and then there was a quote, and this quote said, I looked it up at this website, and the hawk totem, and it says that Spirit wants nothing more than for you to take their message and apply them to your life, grounding them. Some people just float around up there and hear them, but don't do anything about it. Some others are so grounded that they can't hear a thing. End quote. I feel that the silkworms represent the people who hear the message but do not do anything with them. The furry black caterpillars represent the people that are so grounded that they don't hear a thing. And the butterflies represent those that listen to Spirit and applies it to their lives. By doing so, they can travel to all three realms. They can be well grounded, they can hover in the middle, and they can fly to the higher realms because they're open to Spirit. Then I put at the end, be the butterfly. So that's it. That's my third ayahuasca journey. It was very intense, but that's the best way I can explain it. At least the fastest way I could do so on video. So, safe journeys to you all. Go in the love and light. And remember that the universe rewards bravery. Goodbye. And remember to travel safe in the love and the light.